Welcome to Sumita Roy's English Classroom. I'm Professor Sumita Roy, and today we have a video on active and passive voice, which many of you have been asking for in comments right from the beginning. I'm preparing many videos on grammar, which most of you don't seem to want to watch because there are very few views for them. But please remember that learning grammar gives you confidence. It might not help you to speak directly, but it gives you confidence to speak. So let us see the rules of grammar, remember them, and then use them when we practice speaking. So here is some grammar practice on active voice, which is preferred. We don't generally use passive voice. While speaking, while writing, active voice is preferred. This is the style which came into practice, especially when American English became very popular. Otherwise, the passive voice was preferred in many formal communication types. We very often we use the passive form, especially when you do not know the subject well. The passive form is often used. I'll tell you all the rules of how an active sentence becomes passive or a passive sentence becomes active. Before I do that, I will again tell you that 5-word formula, which all of you should remember. That is to subscribe if you haven't done it, to watch the videos completely. They are each about half an hour videos. Please watch all up to the end. Then like the video, comment about what you have learned or what you want to learn, and then share it with everybody who wants to learn good English. If you do these 5 things, then of course it makes me feel motivated, happier to prepare these videos for you. When we say active voice, we mean that the verb is doing the work of the subject. The verb is an action word, and the action is being carried out by the subject of the sentence. What is the subject of the sentence? What is a verb? All these videos are already there on the channel. You have to go back and watch them once more. The subject is the noun or pronoun which comes at the beginning of the sentence. You must remember that only sentences which have transitive verbs. Transitive verb is a verb which cannot complete its meaning without a noun behind it. That is called the object noun. So any verb which is incomplete without an object only can have a passive form. An intransitive verb cannot have a passive form. What is a transitive verb? What is an intransitive verb? Go to the lexical verb video number 1. There you will learn it, and you can use it here. Make a list of all the verbs you know, and then write down which of them can act both as transitive and intransitive. Like the verb study. Study can be used with an object or it can be used without an object. It has both transitive functions. Suppose you say, I study geography. Geography is the name of a subject. So you say, I study geography. It becomes transitive. Then you say, I study in the evening. Here it is intransitive because instead of a noun, there is a preposition at the just behind the verb. So it takes an indirect object, not a direct one. Therefore, you cannot have a passive form for such a sentence. For every tense, I have given you the tense chart in simple tenses video, that is the lexical verbs video number 2. Again, you need to go there. All the 12 forms do not have passive, or the active verb has 12 divisions of time. All these 12 do not have passive forms. The last column on the right, if you go there to that video, that is the perfect continuous tenses, do not have passive form. So, present perfect continuous, past perfect continuous, future perfect continuous has no passive form. So, you cannot change such a sentence into passive even if the verb is a transitive verb. Keep that in mind. Simple present, simple past, simple future. All these have passive forms. Then you have continuous. Present continuous and past continuous have passive forms. Future continuous does not. Present perfect, past perfect, future perfect have the passive forms. So these you need to keep in mind, and once you keep this in mind, you will be able to make an active sentence into a passive sentence. What else should you do? First is you have to change the verb from active form into the passive form. I will tell you this. Second is you have to change the subject. The subject in the active sentence becomes the object in the passive sentence. The passive verb is an intransitive verb. Therefore, it requires a preposition. We use the preposition by. So the subject is added using the preposition by. And then the object becomes the subject of the sentence. So you see, subject, verb, object. That is the active sentence. Now, the verb changes from active to passive form. Subject becomes object, object becomes subject. Subject is fine. Object cannot be added directly. It has to be added by using a preposition by. I hope this rule is clear. Now, how to make an active verb into passive verb? You have to use to be in the tense form. So, whichever tense you are using, the form to be in that tense form. If it is simple tense, to be simple tense. If it is continuous tense, then to be continuous tense. If it is perfect tense, then to be perfect tense. And the verb, the main verb, the lexical verb changes into the past participle form. The form is past participle. Suppose I say, I eat rice. I is subject, eat is present tense active verb, rice is object. Then I have to change rice here. So rice becomes subject. Now eat, add to be. What is the to be form? Is. Because rice, third person singular, we say is. So rice is, eat becomes eaten. Eaten is the past participle form for the verb eat. So rice is eaten. Now the subject was I. Object pronoun for first person is me. So me is the object here added with by. So you say by me. Rice is eaten by me. By preposition you add here, and then I becomes me, because that is the change which takes place. You have to keep this rule in mind in order to, change from active to passive. Those of you who have examinations And questions like this, if you keep this rule in mind, it is enough. Subject becomes object, add with by. By is like glue, like gum. You add it. Object becomes subject, straight, no problem. Now, verb changes according to the rule of passive verb. So, present passive form, the verb eat becomes eaten, and to be gets the correct tense form is. Suppose I say, we are eating rice. We are eating. Are eating is present continuous form. Then what do? We have to change by saying, are is the continuous form, is being is verb form, same verb ing form, is being eaten. Eaten remains the same. So you can say rice is being eaten by, now we changes object form to us. This you will find in the first pronoun video. Please go back to the first pronoun video and see what are the pronouns for subject and what are the pronouns for object. Now suppose you have, subject, object, which are not pronouns, they are nouns. Students take examinations. Students, subject, take simple present tense, examinations, object. So examinations becomes subject, by students becomes object, preposition plus object, prepositional object it is called, and the verb take becomes students are taking. Are is the form. Are, examinations are taken, not taking, I'm sorry. It is taken. Taken form is the past participle for take. So student examinations are taken by students. Here you have two clear nouns, no pronoun is involved. Then you have the present continuous form. Suppose you say present continuous. Weavers wove this dress or this cloth. Weavers, subject. Wove, past tense. This cloth. Suppose you put it in the present perfect. Weavers have woven this cloth. So this cloth is your object. So this cloth comes to the front, it becomes subject. Wove becomes this cloth was woven, because cloth is singular. If you have clothes, then it were woven. These clothes were woven by weavers. Weavers was subject. So now you use by weavers. So you have this cloth or these clothes as the subject, was woven or were woven, passive form, past tense passive. Weavers wove this cloth. So this cloth was woven by weavers. Now suppose it is the perfect tense, present perfect. Weavers have woven. Already now you have past participle. That is the form for the perfect tense. Perfect tense also uses past participle. So the active voice is perfect, present perfect. Weavers have woven these clothes. Now to make have woven into the passive form, you have to say have been woven, because we have to use the be form. Have remains as it is. Been, the form is have plus past participle. For be, the past participle is been, and then the main verb past participle. So you have two past participles here. These clothes have been woven by weavers. By weavers, subject becomes object, add with by. The verb is the most important point here. So have woven becomes have been woven. Suppose you say, my pen was stolen. This is a passive sentence. My pen was stolen. With was, we never use past participle. We always use was stealing, is stealing, will be stealing, and so on. So, with was, when you use past participle, immediately you know that it is a passive sentence. My pen was stolen. Now, we don't know by whom. Obviously, we don't know because pen is stolen. So, you say, my pen was stolen, passive form. How to make it into active? You say, someone stole my pen. Was stolen is the past, simple past form, passive voice. So you have to use simple past form of active voice. And that is someone. I don't know who. So we say someone. Someone, anyone, no one. All these I have done in the pronouns videos. Please check them once. Unless you watch them in continuation, it cannot help you. Many of you are asking me to make videos on uh, phrases and clauses, non-finite verbs. I can't do it in the middle. I have to do it step by step. So until I finish adverbs, I cannot do phrases and clauses. I have finished verbs, now I'm doing active and passive voice. Though I did not do preposition. Ideally, this should be after a preposition lesson. But I'm telling you, only one preposition is used. And when the subject is indefinite, we don't use anything. You know, if the active sentence has someone, anyone, no one, one, then we don't use it as the object. We leave the object free because all passive verbs are intransitive. They are complete in themselves. We don't need anything to complete them. So if you say, my pen was stolen, that is a perfect sentence, complete sentence, passive voice sentence. You don't want to say, you stole my pen. There are places where passive voice is very useful. So you say, my pen was stolen, where it is very, neutral. Now, suppose you have a future form, a verb like they will choose the best gift. So you have here they, which is the subject, will choose, which is the verb in the future, simple future form. The best gift is the object. The is article, best is adjective. So they are a part of the noun. It is, the entire thing is the noun, the best gift. Now, gift is the noun, so you shift the whole thing. You say the best gift, that becomes your subject. Will choose becomes will be chosen. Will choose is the active form. Will be chosen is the passive form. By they is subject, the object form is them. So the best gift will be chosen by them is your passive form, whereas the active form is they will choose the best gift. In this way, whenever you see an active sentence which has a subject immediately following the verb, you can start transforming it into the passive form. When you read the newspaper or when you read a book, you can easily do this. If you do this, then you will find that, you are getting better and better. The more you practice, if you practice 100 sentences of transformation, you become that much better. But if you do 500, that is much better. So you are doing 500 different forms. Now, I have given you, now suppose you have past uh, perfect, not present perfect, but past perfect. The school had collected the fee. Now, the school is the subject, had collected, past perfect form, the fee, object. The fee had been collected. Had been collected would mean that you are using had as it is, past perfect. Be form you are using because that is the rule. The rule says that use be in the tense form. Tense is past perfect tense. So past perfect tense becomes had been. And then you use collected, which is the past tense, and past participle form. So the fee had been collected by the school. By you add preposition and then add the subject, which has now become the object, the school. So that is the past form, past perfect form. So we did present perfect. I don't remember whether we did past continuous. You say that, you can say, he was painting the house. Suppose you say, he was painting the house. Now, this is active sentence. The house was being painted. Now, suppose you don't know who that is. If it is, then you say the house was being painted. Or you can say, the house was being painted by him. He becomes him in object form. And you say, house was being painted by, him. Here, was painting, was being painted. These are the two forms. Was painting, active form, where you use to be plus ing. In the passive form, you use to be plus its tense form, that is being. Being is the ing form of be. So you have the verb, then you have the ing form of be, and then you have the past participle of the main verb. All passive forms, again I'm repeating, have the past participle of the main verb. No other form of the main verb is possible in the passive form. That is why people prefer active sentences, because in active sentences, the main verb can take so many forms. I've shown you the forms of the main verb from the root, but in the passive sentence, it cannot take these forms. So the passive becomes limited in use. Therefore, we don't generally use it. Now, there are passive forms also where the sentence has modal auxiliaries. Till now, I told you the tense forms, lexical verbs. Go back to the video of modal auxiliaries if you want to know what those are. But today, I'm only telling you passive forms of the modal auxiliary sentences. Suppose you have a sentence like, I can write a letter. Then letter is the object which becomes subject. A letter can, now you have to use the be form because you have, whenever modal auxiliaries are used, you use the root form, that is bare infinitive, root without to. So be, can be. Now write becomes written, because we have to have the past participle of write for a passive sentence. So a letter can be written by me. By me, I have explained already. I becomes me. So no problem. So the sentence is a sentence which has a modal auxiliary form. And along with the modal auxiliary, we always use the bare infinitive. That is the root form without the word to. So can write becomes can be written. Then you say, you must pay the fine. You must pay the fine. Active sentence. You is the subject, becomes by you object. The fine is the object, becomes subject. The fine must be paid. You must pay. Pay past participle is paid, P-A-I-D. So you say, the fine must be paid by you. I hope that is clear. You must pay the fine. The fine must be paid by you. That is how the active sentence becomes a passive sentence. Or if you say the fine must be paid, then obviously, if you're talking to somebody in the passive sentence saying the fine must be paid, you can always make it active by saying you must pay the fine. That way you can change from active to passive, passive to active, remembering the changes. When you make a passive verb into an active verb, you remove the to be rule and put it back into the tense form. You remove the preposition and change the position of the subject and the object. If you do this, then you know you are able to change from one to the other. It should not be difficult. As far as very formal and very, non-controversial situations are there, some legal document, etc., which use passive forms all the time. It is called officialese or legalese. These are all specific languages for each, uh, job which people have in society. But otherwise, preference is always to the active form. Active forms are given. Suppose you go to talk to somebody, then it is preferable that you use active sentences. If you are making a presentation, instead of saying that this presentation will be made by me, you say, I will make this presentation. At the beginning of the video, I'm introducing myself because we have new viewers all the time. So I'm not saying this video is prepared by me. I'm saying that this is so and so video and I'm preparing it. I'm using the active form. As far as possible, we use active voice preferably. In our regular conversation, in our speaking practice, active is best. Suppose you say, I like apples. So you can also change it into passive by saying, apples are liked by me. But that sentence doesn't sound as good as I like apples. I like apples sounds so much better. It shows your emotion so much better. So we have possibilities when it is a tense verb, all the 12 tenses. You have to know which of the tenses have the passive form. The remaining tenses do not have passive form, so you cannot change them. Out of the table of 12, there are 4 forms which you cannot have the passive form. So only the remaining have the passive form. It would be nice if you make a table side by side. I've shown you how to make a table of the active uh, forms of the verb. You make another table and put corresponding passive forms. This you will find in the video called Lexical Verbs 1, and it is called Simple Tenses. I think the first chart, many of you were asking for those charts, but many others could not see the charts. So If you can see it on your laptop, I'm sure it'll be visible. Otherwise, I have explained tense by tense today, each of them starting from simple present, simple past, simple future, then continuous and perfect forms as to how the active verb changes to the passive verb. Remember the rule. Remember that you have to add a preposition, you have to make active verb into passive verb, change the position, and then you will be perfect in the use of active and passive. Be very careful in choosing where to use active and where to use passive. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, watch till the end, and of course, comment. Your comments are what brought this video to you today, because I would not have done active passive so soon. But since many of you have asked for it, I did this video. This video, I hope, helps all of you. Thank you and all the best.